In this chapter, we're going to take a look at how to go over your games. So when you're using lead chess, there's an inbuilt feature where you can click on a game. If you go to the analysis board, you can click on request a computer analysis, and this will run a computer analysis. So I did this for a game earlier. I ran a computer analysis, and when I went to the analysis board, it shows me all these mistakes and a graph. So when we're looking at an engine evaluation, it's either going to be a positive integer or a negative integer. So a positive number represents an advantage for white, a negative number represents an advantage for black. So if we go to this point in the game all the way over here, it says minus 1.3. And points are measured in pawns. So it's saying the computer feels like this position is 1.3 pawns better for black. Even though they're equal in pawns, it's saying that black has such a strong position here that it believes it's worth 1.3 pawns of an advantage. Whereas if you went to this point in the game over here, it's a positive integer, so it believes that white is up 1.3 pawns. And this graph here basically shows us the whole history of the game regarding the computer analysis. So you can hover it over and it will say advantage to the right. And whenever it's positive, it believes white holds an advantage. But when it drops to negative, it believes black holds an advantage. And when you can see it near the center line, so the central line is going to be a very equal game when there's no real spikes. And the bigger the difference, the more of an advantage. So here is quite a big plummet. That means black was quite significantly stronger. Same over here. Whereas over here, was slightly bigger of a peak. So it believes white was better for this portion of the game. So looking at the graph, you can see all the way up until move 26, white was better. But let's go through the game. Ideally, you'd like to do this without the computer's input. So first time you go over a game, you kind of just want to do it by eye. You can go to the move times. So this will tell you how long you spent on each move. The higher the bar, the more time. So over here, you can see that white spent 13 seconds and black spent a total of 15 seconds. Whereas the smaller bars over here, black spent 0.88 seconds and white spent slightly under 1 second. So you can see time consumption through these bars. So on the move times in lead chess, when you go over a game, you can see how quickly each player moved. And you can use that as a way to see how much your opponents were seeing during the game and how much you saw given how long you took to think. So when you're going over the game first time rounds, you can click off all these ticks. That way you don't see what the engine is proposing. You can do it without the engine's help first time round. So you just want to go through the game and see if there's any improvements you could make. If there's any bit of the game that sticks out to you that you're not sure about, then you can look at that bit and see if you can find a better idea. So over here, white moved the bishop back. It looks like a passive move. So you want to think, is there a better way white can defend this position? And you want to say, maybe white could take the pawn first, or maybe white could go here. And you analyze it for a bit. Then once you're happy with your analysis, you continue going through the game until another bit of the game that happens which confuses you. But yeah, this is what you want to do. You want to go through the game until you find something that you're not so sure about. So if they pushed a pawn there and you're not sure about why they did this, stop for a couple of minutes and try to come up with some sort of reasoning. So maybe they push this pawn because their king's quite potentially vulnerable to a back rank. So by pushing this way, they give themselves an out square. So this could be a reasoning why they did that. And when you're happy with what you've kind of thought about, you just continue. And you do this all the way until you've reached the end of the game. Or until you've until you find another bit of the game that you're not sure about. But yeah. And if you're happy with what you've done with analysis and you've gone through the game, then you can run it through the computer by clicking Enable Computer Analysis. And with the graph, you can see what was happening. So when we're judging the graph, we want to go to bits where there are major movements. So over here, there's a sudden movement. White was up 1.2, but then the position suddenly dropped down to only 0.4. And then you see it was this move with the bishop. It wasn't the best move. So when you reach this point, you can think, what would have been a better move for white? And you can click engage the engine by pressing this tick. That will run the engine's analysis. And then it will say different moves in ranking. So the first line that appears is the first ranked move. So that would be white's top response. Second line is the second ranked move, white's second best response. Third line is the third ranked move. So right now, it believes that b3 offers white a 0.9 point advantage, which means 0.9 pawns up. It feels like white is in this position. So it's saying he should have done b3 or f takes e5. It can change its mind. So now it believes taking the pawns better. And what you can do is you can hover your mouse over these moves and you can see what it's thinking about each turn. So when f takes e5, f pawn takes the e5 pawn, it's saying you should take that with the knight. Then after knight takes, pawn takes, b3, rook d8. Basically, it's saying he's got really strong bishops. King can't even go back to f6. King's quite vulnerable. And this is why it justifies this advantage here. But yeah, so now you've gone through that line, you continue back to the game. So you go back to what actually happened and you continue going through the game until you see another random jump in the graph. With there'd be nothing really that's alarming, no real sudden changes in evaluation. You just keep on going through it until you get to a point where there's a big drop off. And you can look here, suddenly it goes from white being up to black being up. And you get to this point in the game and you see what caused this to happen. And you can try to work it out without the computer telling you. But if you can't, then you can just engage the analysis and you can see what move gives you an advantage. And it says g5. Basically with g5, we're moving this bishop away from potentially defending this pawn, or we can get this knight working, attacking the bishop and this pawn. So after g5, they move something like bishop b8. Now you've got a knight for attacking the bishop and attacking the pawn. And it would be most likely that you win a pawn here. And it also says over here that this is a mistake. And a handy feature in Lichess as well is that you can always click learn from your mistakes. And this will make you go through each mistake in the game. And you try to find which move is best. So you come up with a move. If it's not the best move, it will say not the best move. Then you try it again. Then you find the best move. And then it will say it's the best move. So over here, it's saying mistakes, learn from mistakes. And yeah, this is what you want to do. And then once you're happy with the game, that's pretty much it in terms of analyzing it. But what you can do is if you really liked the game, you can click the study feature and you can click create study. And what this will do is this will allow you to reference it in the future, where you can play something like, you can play through the game and you can also add lines. So you can do this, or you can say maybe they could have tried knight f3 instead, and that will create a new line. And you can even annotate and say maybe this move would have been more challenging. So you can give yourself notes in these games and it will appear over here. You can also get rid of it whenever you want by clicking delete variation. So delete from here. that'll get rid of the move. But as well as that, you can assign different symbols. So all these symbols down here indicate the meaning of each one. So exclamation mark, good move; question mark, mistake; brilliant moves, double exclamation mark; and double question mark is a blunder. And you get terminology for all these different moves. And you want to go through these games, you want to create studies, and you want to have a sort of database where you can collect all your good games and you can reference them in the future. You can even adjust your name of the study, so you can create, say, black opening against E4D4 system. You can call it whatever you want, and you can keep it hidden from the public as well. So if you go on unlisted, then only you will be able to view this study, and you can have it to yourself. But another benefit of this study feature on Lichess is that you can actually get access to lots of different material. A lot of people have done for free. So if you go to the free bars here, you can go to study, and you can search anything you're struggling with. So say you're having a day you're not doing so well, you played a pawn endgame and you weren't sure, you can search pawn endgames, and you'll get a whole heap of studies done by people pretty much for free. They just did it and they put it on the site. You can click a random one and you'll be able to go through their study, and you'll get free material like this just by going through these ones. And yeah, you've got this guy to help you, and you can find the best ideas. So that's the Lichess study feature. You can also click what's called the openings if you ever want to have a look at an opening. And if you heard an opening, but say you were watching a video and you heard an opening that sounded weird, and you heard something like the bird opening, you'd search it and it'll appear. And yeah, these are different variations of that opening. That's pretty much it in terms of analyzing your game. I believe the best way to learn is to basically do as much as this as you can. And if you can also get games from different platforms too. So if you want to go through a game that you played on Lichess, but you want to analyze it in chess.com, what you can do is you can get the portable game notation by going to Analysis board and clicking Share and Export. And you can hover over this, and you can right-click the PGN, click Copy, go to chess.com, and you can even put it on that site by going to the Analysis feature. Let me find that for you. Analysis. You can click Share here. Let me see. Upload file. Oh, not this one. Load from FEN or PGNs. So you click this one, then you right click here. That'll put the PGN there. Click Add Games, and now you can watch it through the chess.com interface. Same way you can do this with a chess.com game, and you can put it through Lichess by going to let me see, stats, and you want to go to your games. Click on a game, then you go to Share. So this icon here is Share, PGN, and just copy and paste it all. This was probably a quicker, no, it's better to do it this way. So right click, copy, and now you can go to your Lichess analysis board. So analysis board on Lichess, and you can right click and paste, and click import PGN, and now you'll be able to go through a chess.com game on Lichess. And what's so great about this is when you can get unlimited engine reviews by clicking study, create study, call it whatever you want, put unlisted if you want so people don't see it, and you can do request engine analysis like this, request a computer analysis, and it'll give you a computer analysis. So this is another way you can go through looking at your games And yeah, you just reference what happened here, the graph, and you kind of pick which interface you prefer. If you prefer the Lichess interface, then I'll just create your own little library of studies collections, go through them, upload each game, and always take a record of the games that you thought you played well. That way you'll always be able to reference it in the future. But as well as that, obviously you want to take a hold of your losses. That way you can learn from them. But yeah, this pretty much wraps it up in terms of analyzing your games and using different platforms. Thank you.